I find that most people, when they first come to Korea, are very pleased and somewhat surprised with the quality, the availability and selection of housing. The housing situation is very good in Seoul and throughout Korea for the most part. Obviously, the larger cities provide a wider selection of properties and, of course, a larger number of properties. The smaller towns or smaller cities and more remote locations, less so. But still, once again, people are quite pleased with what they find. In Seoul, the three primary types of housing are villas, luxury high-rises, and freestanding homes. Villas are typically low-rise structures, anywhere from 3 to 5 stories, of recent, newer construction, modern interiors, very Western. Luxury high-rises, of course, are very similar to villas, except with more of a high-rise structure, being anywhere from 20-plus stories tall. There are freestanding homes, but the freestanding homes tend to be a bit antiquated. Not as many as there were previously. Many owners are deciding to build villas on the spaces which previously were occupied by freestanding homes. Villas often have either an enclosed or open balcony area. If they're on the first floor, it is sometimes available to find gardens, either private or public garden area. The high-rises, unfortunately, don't have open balconies, but will have enclosed balconies. One of the advantages of the luxury high-rises is the fact that very often they'll have a fitness center associated with the building, plus areas for children, playgrounds where they can safely go play and ride their bikes. Freestanding homes, of course, the advantage being is that you have a bit more space, and of course a garden associated with it. Once again, the antiquated aspect of the property, though, too, sometimes doesn't compare to the newer villa and luxury high-rise type. There are a number of residential areas in Seoul. Really, where people choose to live depends on their work location or schooling or access to school transportation. There's nothing that says that because you're an expatriate that you're required to live in one particular area. It's just a matter of finding a place that fits your needs most effectively. Typically, properties are not furnished. It is possible, depending on the situation or a particular owner, to either negotiate or include furnishing at an increased rental rate. Otherwise, the properties do typically include all major appliances: refrigerators, washer, dryer, air conditioner. When we talk about negotiation of leases, this is what we really are focused on. While we don't have much margin for actual rental rate, because when we view the properties, we've already pre-negotiated so as to allow a better selection of properties for our customers. But if you have a situation where a property may not have a washer, dryer, or maybe you want an additional dryer, these are the types of things that we typically negotiate in. Refurbishments, those are all included, so that's something we normally have to be concerned with. Very often people like to access the internet to get a sense of what the housing is like, and I think this is a good idea. I think this gives people a good sense of what to expect as far as sizes, interior design, but one of the disadvantages, I think, of accessing the internet is the fact that very often the information is dated or may even not be correct, especially when it comes to rental rates. In addition to housing, obviously one of the major focuses and concerns that expats have, especially obviously if they have children, is schooling. And wonderfully, we have a great selection of international schools in Seoul. In addition to those schools that provide English language, we have Chinese, Japanese, German, and French schools. There are 4 schools which provide grade levels from preschool or kindergarten through high school. There are 3 preschools, meaning they provide classes for children ages 2 to 6 years old. Of those schools, 2 provide a British curriculum. Amongst the English-speaking schools, they do have advanced placement, AP, and the International Baccalaureate, IB programs available as well. It's very important for parents to get a good sense of space availability in the schools, though. There is a limited amount of space in particular grade levels at given times, so I can never stress, I should say, enough how important it is to first establish what schools will best fit for you, what the space availability is, and also to submit your applications as soon as possible. If you were to take 100 expats and you were to ask them, what are your challenges or what are your obstacles living in Korea? I think the number one typically is language. Certainly more and more people in Korea do speak English to a certain degree, but certainly this is the feedback that we receive and certainly why we are very important in our role as far as the relocation. Other challenges that people comment upon are traffic and, depending on where they're coming from, lack of personal space. As far as cultural differences, you'll find that most Koreans, especially in larger cities, have traveled quite a bit. Their expectations as far as your knowledge of their culture and adhering to such is not exceptional. Koreans themselves are very interested in other people and do appreciate when people have an understanding to some degree of their culture. But really, it's not something that you need to focus too much upon or be concerned with. One of the wonderful things about my job is the fact I get to have the opportunity to introduce all the positive things about Korea, which is what we really focus on. People are very pleasantly surprised when they first come to Korea. They find that it's a very modern city, or the cities are very modern. The infrastructure is quite good. The services and support for expatriates has increased significantly in the last 10 years. When assignees or customers go to a grocery store, for example, they find essentially everything they need is there. The public transportation system is wonderful. And really just the overall attitude of the people is very comfortable for most. Shopping in Korea is a bit more of a challenge than many people find in their home country, simply because not everything is at one store as they're used to. We have a wide variety of markets. We have large mega market type stores that have both groceries and houseware. We have stores such wholesale markets such as Costco. And then we have very specific, more boutique style markets, foreign goods markets. Between these three, you are typically able to find everything that you need. It's just, as I mentioned, not as convenient to go to one store to get exactly what you're looking for. But overall, we really don't have any complaints from people, and they're actually quite pleasantly surprised in what they can find. As mentioned, Korea has an excellent, or at least the larger cities have an excellent public transportation system, including subways, taxis, and buses. However, many assignees do choose to drive. You'll find that those clients coming from, and customers coming from North America, find the left-hand drive or driving on the right side of the road a very comfortable transition. And really, once you have an idea of where you're going and understand the habits of the other drivers, it's quite easy to get around. Very often we have questions from our assignees regarding medical services and what to expect. Fortunately, once again, we have excellent medical facilities. We have international clinics, specialized hospitals, and in fact, Korea itself is becoming known as a center for medical tourism. Obviously, when we have new assignees coming to Korea, it may have been their first assignment or maybe just their first time to Korea, they are concerned about security. Fortunately, I'm always happy to report that living in Seoul and actually throughout the entire country of Korea, security is not a concern. Many of the houses and properties have security systems or even security guards, which is more of a precaution than it is a necessity. You'll find that you can actually go anywhere, anytime of the day without any concerns.